Good morning. This is the first time I've ever missed a board meeting, so it's going to be a strange executive director report, but we're going to give it to you this way. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about new funds. One of the challenges that you had given me is to make sure that our inactive funds are being reviewed. I did talk to P3 about their fund, and while they still have a small amount in their fund at the Columbus Foundation, actually what they're considering doing is opening a new fund with a CD that they have coming due. So we're going to continue those talks, and we should have more information about that after the first of the year. I've also been working with Larry Helm, Nelson Embry, Scott Allen, and Tim Colburn. I met with them this week regarding the Wellbeing Foundation grant, and I emailed that fund agreement to you. So hopefully you've had a chance to review it, and you will be acting on that agreement here shortly. The balances of the Wellbeing Foundation were discussed at the meeting that I was at, and it's being recommended that the funds be pretty much eliminated as much as possible out of the Wellbeing Foundation. And let me explain to you how that's going to happen and the impact it's going to have on PCCF. First of all, the Wellbeing Fund of PCCF will be opened with a deposit of $1 million, and that's the agreement that you're looking at. In addition, there's going to be a second fund of over $600,000. This new fund will have the same criteria as the Wellbeing Fund. However, it's going to be called the Bidwell Fund of the Wellbeing Foundation of the Pickaway County Community Foundation. Again, serving the same purpose, but it's representing the donor and respecting the donor's wishes to have something named. After talking through with the Wellbeing Foundation, I believe their intent tomorrow is to vote to pay off their pending pledges, which are to the Pumpkin Show Park as well as to the fairground. So that will eliminate some of their pending expenses that they had coming up. And then also they have a few other funds. The Parkinson's Fund is one, and after we talked at our meeting, they suggested that Larry and I speak with the people from the Parkinson's Fund and see if they would be interested in setting up a fund at PCCF. We did that immediately following the meeting with Tim and Nelson, Scott and Larry, and actually they had already voted to set up a fund with PCCF. So the Wellbeing Fund will be transferring. This will be a board-directed fund, though, not a regular fund. And the reason this is going to be a board-directed fund is they want us to pay the bills for them that they incur on expenses and expenditures for the Parkinson's Fund. Things such as buying the t-shirts for the Parkinson's Walk, the gift cards that they distribute, and paying for things such as walkers to Shebers. So I've explained to them that there is a fee for that we charge a 5% fee. They're willing to do that, and I'm going to be getting the letter of transmittal as well as a memorandum of understanding out to Teresa Riffle so that their board can vote on that. An additional discussion at that Wellbeing Foundation meeting was that there's going to be a conversation with Harry Rubin regarding the Rainbow Fund. They're going to try to figure out what Harry wants to do to see if he wants to do something similar to what the Parkinson's Fund is doing, or if they will move that fund and delete that fund in another format. There are currently two funds that the Wellbeing Foundation has at the Columbus Foundation that, per the donor's wishes, will remain there for right now. Both of those are called community health funds, but one is the Community Health Endowment Fund, the other one is just the Community Health Fund. These funds, the Wellbeing Foundation will actually spend down first. Now, the endowment fund does have a qualification on it that it cannot be spent below $50,000, and that fund will live into perpetuity. In listening to this group and talking to them, it's very apparent that this committee plans to reduce their activities to become a grant committee only as soon as possible. So, pending the outcome of the Supreme Court regarding the quarry situation, I believe that they will liquidate all of their assets and quickly turn them over to PCCF as quickly as they can so that they can just be a grant-making organization. For the remaining items the Wellbeing Foundation has, they're actually going to use WSSR, and I will be working with them since this is going to be their home. For mailing address, I will be working with them to send their statements to WSSR and working with their board to set up their agendas and to have their meetings here. I do anticipate that we are going to get that advocate donation that we had hoped for. I don't know that we're going to get anything more than the normal advocate donation, but that is something that we will just have to wait and see. Their board meeting, again, is tomorrow, so there will be action possibly taken on that tomorrow. The press release regarding all of this will take place, as I indicated in your email, on September 25th at 8 a.m., and it's going to be here at the Pickaway County Community Foundation. They would like for as many of our board members to be present as possible. So some updates on some of the other funds that we have. The Pickaway County Agricultural and Event Center Fund. This is sort of going into a maintenance stage. We're still collecting money on the pledges. We're still continuing to get some donations in, but not as much of our time is being spent for this. The wrap up on this part is going to be getting all the commemoratives finalized on the new donations and making sure that that's all done, and then following up on the pledges. The Pickaway Addiction Action Coalition, PAC. Kylena France is now the new executive director for PAC. Kylena is working here out of the PCCF office 1 or 2 days per week. And she's moved her file cabinet here, so this is her new home. Also, in addition, she is going to be meeting with different people in and out of here. So we have established a calendar that we're going to be using. So if anybody wants to reserve the PCCF office, there's going to be a master calendar going forward. The Community Health Fund of the Health Department, the 211 Fund. Later this morning, actually at 11 o'clock this morning, there's going to be a media release and reception for the official rollout of the 211 system. Susan can get you a copy of the flyer if you want to take a look at that. If you're around and you have the ability to go down between 11 and noon at the Pumpkin Show Park, they are going to be having refreshments and greeting everybody and thanking the donors that contributed to that. PCN Leadership, they received 14 applications for their Fellows Fund. That's a very good amount. Obviously, there have been some changes in this committee, and Steve will be discussing those during the executive report. I can tell you the selection process for the new fellows is going very well, and they will be announcing that group after they meet on September 4th. The committee meets on September 4th to make their final selections. PCN Education has been extremely busy. This committee not only took on serving food at the Gunnapalooza last Saturday, but they're also taking on the Tackling Cancer game, which is set for September 7th and is between Logan Elm and Westfall. The game is actually held at Westfall. A portion of the proceeds from this will be donated to the Kids Cancer Fund, which obviously is a fund held by PCCF, so we're excited about the working together of the Education Committee and the Kids Cancer Fund. With this fundraiser, there's no table to purchase like we normally purchase for leadership or for the ag dinner. So I did go ahead and buy a $500 ad in the program, which is the equivalent to the amount that we normally spend for a dinner reservation or for a table. PCN Agricultural Fund, the Farm to Plate is coming up Thursday night. Board member Rhonda Baldwin will be hosting some of our donors at our PCCF table. Last count was about 350 reservations, and they were still accepting reservations through the weekend. The Imagination Library did a soft rollout in June, and we're already at capacity, so there's no additional enrollments. They're all being placed on a hold list. But we're excited to see what's going to happen in the governor's budget. Part of the governor's budget proposes an Imagination Library in every county in Ohio. So what we're anticipating based on what we're seeing in the budget is that there's going to be some sort of a matching for those who have already been establishing Imagination Libraries. So David Fosnall, the executive director of the Pickaway County Library, is keeping an eye on that. One of the things he and I have talked about is possibly doing a quick fundraising campaign based on the date of when that matching dollars is going to be. We don't know if it's only going to be new dollars contributed or if it's going to be $1 as of a certain amount. So we want to make sure that we're planning that accordingly. By the way, the Imagination Library did just receive a $5,000 grant from the South Central Power Roundup Grant, as well as so did the Pickaway Agriculture and Event Center. They received a $10,000 grant. It is unusual for South Central Ohio or South Central Power to do two grants to the same organization, but because of the number of funds we hold that impact the community, they waived that and allowed two different recipients to receive grants from their grant selection process this last quarter. The Youth Advisory Council with Susan and Alan Roberts have sure had their group busy. The kids did a community cleanup project already, and a couple weeks ago they did a big table meeting with our advisory committee. I cannot tell you how many people off of our advisory committee have come up to me in community settings and commented on what a wonderful group these kids are and how excited they are, and the excitement that the kids shared with them about being in this group and about being part of PCCF and moving and doing things in the community. So we're very pleased about that. The Mary Virginia Hannon Fund. This is an inactive fund that I have been working on, and it is for specifically spaying and neutering cats. Thanks to Bob Sneed and getting me connected with the Humane Society, I've been working with them, and the executive committee has given me some guidelines so that we can expend some of the money from this fund annually. You will be ratifying the executive committee agreement later in the meeting, but the Humane Society is reaching out to all of the veterinarians, and we should be seeing this program kick off early this fall. We've had some infrastructure changes. Susan has continued to work with Erica from BHM to take on more and more of the duties of the bookkeeping for PCCF. This obviously has been a much slower transition than we anticipated was going to be because of the plain complexity of PCCF. We're not really getting the subgroups set up like we wanted to get them set up, and they continue to work to massage that and make those kind of things happen. So one of the complexities is all of the different funds that we have. Which funds do we collect fiscal agent fees for? Which funds are at Columbus Foundation? Which funds are at Edward Jones? Who do we pay bills for? Who do we keep a detailed tracking of deposits for? So Susan actually created this tool that illustrates the complexity of knowing what we do for certain funds. So if you're interested and have any questions about this, please see Susan, but I think it's one that will show you the complexity involved in keeping track of those that we are the fiscal agent for. So in doing that, we have decided to do separate accounts. So previously we had two accounts at the savings bank. One was our operating account, and the other was our donations account. The donations account is where we put all money that are deposits into, and then we ship those either to Columbus Foundation or to Edward Jones based on where the fund is held. The operations account, we've always commingled with the cash on hand for funds that we are the fiscal agents for. So as a result, it became a little bit messy. So we'd have to have all these different spreadsheets and know how many funds we had on hand for education, how many for agriculture, how many for leadership, how many for the Mike Harrison Park Fund, for the Friends of the Park, how much for YAC, those kind of things. So with the transition of this, we have moved all of those funds into a third fund that we call the Cash on Hand Fund for the different funds that we are fiscal agents. So right now we have $13,000 in that fund for those cash on hand funds. And then we also have $27,000 in our true operations account. This is money that we know is ours. So this really gives me peace of mind, because now when somebody asks me how much cash do we have on hand, I can give them the exact dollar amount. Prior to this time, I would have to go through and subtract out the amount on each and every spreadsheet. So that's a good thing for us, and it's making it a lot more manageable and workable for Susan and myself. We're getting to the time where we need to do some statements for Edward Jones accounts. Edward Jones requires a deposit of $25,000 to open a fund. So as we began opening funds, our first funds didn't have $25,000, so we commingled those. So we've got the Southward Family Fund, Parks and Trails, the Community Health Fund of the Health Department, Bar Association, and Asheville Fund, all lumped into one fund. Southward and Parks and Trails, it's time for them to get their first annual statement. So we're going to be working on, Jeff Haar has provided us with a document, we're going to be working on getting those statements out. In the meantime, any fund that comes in that is already over $25,000, we're going to open them up as a separate fund. And by doing that, they will get their own statements monthly. We will get a copy of it, and then also they will get their statements. So as some of these smaller funds finally get to that $25,000 point, we will go ahead and transition them into their own funds to keep us from having to create these individual statements for the smaller funds. Also in infrastructure, if you remember that we talked about memorials last time and the number of memorials we'd had come in since Doris had passed away, and I distributed a copy of the memorial brochure draft. Susan's going to be giving you a copy of that memorial brochure as well as a copy of another brochure that we have created. This one can be distributed any place we speak at events. So it's not just for memorials. This is more about who we are, what we are, and the funds we have. We did print smaller portions of this because we know it's going to be an evolving one as funds change. We already know we've got the Parkinson's Fund coming in, we've got the Wellbeing Fund coming in, and the Bidwell Fund coming in. So we will update this periodically, but for right now, it does show all the funds that we have in addition to the Wellbeing Foundation Fund. The employee handbook, Susan's going to be passing that off to Teresha and Rhonda. We're going to use our HR specialist to give us some feedback on that. I'm hopeful that we will have that feedback by the end of September and that we can get that out to you for discussion at the October board meeting and can get that all in place by the January, in order for January 1 so it can be implemented. Also, you're going to find Susan's going to pass around our annual report draft. This annual report is not completed yet because I'm still waiting for the audit information to come in. Once we get the audit information, we will go ahead and get that sent out. There are still a few little minor errors in the copy she's passing around. Those are being corrected, and we are also adding board member information. So there's a few community convenings coming up that I want to make sure you're aware of. Big Table's coming up on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. If you've not signed up yet, as a board member, I'm strongly asking you to please participate in this. We have locations at 4 different places. I would love for my board members to be at Asheville, at Williamsport, or at Commercial Point. Yes, we have a number of you that will come to Circleville, but I would really like to see some of you to go to some of those outlying areas. So if you haven't signed up yet, talk to Susan, get signed up for a session. The 100 Women Who Care is moving forward. Donna Solovey, Susan, Judy Clifton is going to join our group, and myself. We've been working on this, and we'll be getting some more information out after Labor Day. It's hard to believe, but Thanksgiving is right around the corner. That's going to be December 3rd this year. That is Giving Tuesday. That's always the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I've tentatively scheduled Cooks Creek. This will be a topic that we'll need to talk about in detail at our October meeting, but I'm asking you to start thinking about it. Think about some grants you might want to be giving out, some potential people or organizations that might be receiving those grants. So the last 2 things on my agenda before I pass it on back to Steve and Rose and the rest of the group is that Clays for Community. Susan is going to be passing out your packets, and inside those packets you're going to have the registration forms. We would really like to get to 30 teams this year. 30 teams, 15 morning, 15 afternoon. We're going to do a lunch in between the 2 flights. That's when we're going to be doing the drawing for our door prizes. Please, please help us try to get those teams. Susan's reaching out to all the previous teams and making sure that they have the information. In addition, in that packet is your raffle information. This year's raffle is quite a nice raffle. The value of this package is over $1,700. The package is called an outdoor package, and it includes things that anyone can enjoy or anyone can give for gifts. I believe it's reasonable that each of us should be able to sell 25 to 30 tickets. The tickets are only $20 each. If we each sell 25 tickets, we're looking at a profit of $7,500. If we each sell 30 tickets, we're looking at $9,000 clear profit without any cost to PCCF. We actually reused last year's tickets, so we didn't even have to have tickets printed so far this year. So thank you, Susan, for doing all the work you did on those tickets. If you need more tickets, let us know. The more we sell, the more we make. So I hope this information has been helpful for you. If you would like a written copy of this report, It does not include the Wellbeing Foundation information because that information was too new for me to get included into the report before I left. But if you want a written copy of this report, let Susan know and she can email that to you. Otherwise, we're not going to distribute it. We'll just file it with the minutes. Have a great week. Have fun at the big table. Have fun at the Farm to Plate dinner. And I will see you all back in the office on Wednesday, September 4th. Thank you.